Welcome, guys, to our third pod. It's a really exciting one for me, this one actually, the third pod, because it's going to be all about Local Insights Australia. It's kind of cool for me because it was always a dream for me to work in a business that's global, let alone be a founder of a business that's global. So the fact that we're in the UK and Australia is pretty awesome from my perspective. And it wouldn't be made possible without feet on the street in Australia. And that feet on the street is my co-founder and also Benji's co-founder, Nathan Brown, who's come all the way from Australia, from Brisbane, Australia,
Brisbane.
to come and grace us with his presence. And yeah, we're gonna dive in a little deep into how things are going out there and all that good stuff. But welcome, Nathan.
What an intro. Thank you,
Oh,
Brisky. I'm very happy to be back. It's actually, it's a strange feeling to be back because
I bet.
it's been about coming up to 4 years since I've been back in the office.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And that was
obviously that was
lockdown.
an interesting time, but yeah, we don't want to talk about that. But yeah, it's great to be back. Great to see the office again. Bring back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the reasons it came back, and we caught up the other day, was, which we need to mention.
Oh yeah, it's an epic reason for a reunion. So huge congratulations to Benji and Samantha for getting married.
Yeah.
They got married on the weekend and it was so
Fantastic
good,
wedding.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Fantastic wedding.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's great.
Benji's speech, as you'd expect, smashed it
I
out of the
mean,
park.
It was proper emotional, wasn't it? Actually, it was really interesting to see where Benji's life and all of his friends and all of his family. It was pretty special. I was
It's touching.
honoured to be in amongst it. So yeah, it's a pretty cool crew we work with. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so, well, and what a reason to for the first visit back. To come back. Well, one of the reasons, and another reason was to come here and catch up and see some of the new faces and work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting actually because a lot of people don't even know that we're in Australia. Like they just think, God, we're dominating the UK. We're doing our thing, which is really cool. But it's a big part of our story, Australia. And actually, it's become, thanks to your amazing skills and good work, a really significant business. But I want to take it back to that 2020 when we were planning and plotting. What was the main reason? Why did you want to make that move?
Well, as you say, we always kind of discussed future plans. I mean, I think you really wanted to hit the States, didn't you? States is a huge opportunity.
So keen on that. I just think the States is such a big market to go and dominate in. But the States would have been super cool.
We always talked about the where could we go. States was one, and the thing is, for me, Aussie, although I am a Kiwi, just to set the record straight, Australia was always an interesting one. Because
why not New Zealand though?
Well, New Zealand's great, but New Zealand's a little small. I think, and so as our first step, not to say that New Zealand doesn't have a place in the future.
Radar.
It's on the radar, all right.
Okay.
But Australia was an interesting one. I had family scattered all around kind of Australia, and obviously, as you know, 2 kids at the time, 3 kids now, and it was like, okay, was everything that was going on in COVID. I started thinking, it'd be nice to be a bit closer to
homesick.
Family. Yeah,
COVID was tough. Lockdown, the business during COVID when it hit us, and it was quite an interesting period.
It was a tough time, but I think we made good moves at the right speed to ensure that we could. Well, we wouldn't be here without those decisions.
What were some of the? I know we're going to talk about Australia and everything, but I actually think it's really interesting just to dive in just a little bit, from your perspective. What are the things that we did back then that you feel like actually, that was really good for our business?
I think we streamlined. There were certain things that we did that just took a lot of time, right? And we streamlined a lot of those processes, and we had to make those decisions during that period to kind of come out the other side. But I think one of the ones I always found interesting is that businesses want to hear from us, but it's the way that they want to hear from us that we kind of we nailed in that kind of 2020 period about how frequently or how they want to hear about us, what type of information they want to get back from their marketing campaigns, online marketing campaigns. That was the key thing that we nailed, and I think that then set us up to be able to reinvest some of the resource that we had into other areas of the business. Take the creative team, for example, and where it is now. That wouldn't be there.
Transformed, isn't it? Yeah. No, totally. Well, sorry for digressing.
Yeah, but anyway, it was Aussie personally ticked the big box. As a market, 2.5 million small businesses. So it's not small.
A lot of independence as
A
well,
lot of
right?
independence, heavily, and then when you do get chains as well, it's a big franchise presence, and franchises have their own decision-making abilities, have their own marketing budgets.
Cool.
So a big market, and it made sense, like both personally and then you thought it sounded like a good idea to maybe get out to Aussie every now and then.
Yeah.
I need to get you out for your first
Still need
visit.
to go. I like the idea of the halfway point, like Vegas.
Yeah,
like just going. Like,
it's always back to the States.
Seems like a good spot.
Yeah. No, Oz made sense from that perspective, and then so we launched in the back end of 2021. Once we finally got out there, and it was a bit of, I don't know if you remember, it was a bit of a challenge to kind of, because it's a different beast, isn't it?
I remember it being a massive challenge, just from like, it's interesting setting up a business, because it's like it seemed like it was quite like in the UK when we set it up. There was quite a lot of things to do, a lot of like, forms to fill out, a lot of branding, and it was quite a lot. But I feel like in Australia it was even more full on.
It was on steroids, wasn't it? It's not as straightforward just to kind of.
Totally.
So and especially given that we were going through, COVID was still around, and things had to be done in a certain way, and you were based here, and so it took us a fair bit just to get that.
We figured out real quick, didn't we, that having daily communications, just ain't gonna fly.
No,
it's too the time difference is just too ridiculous.
So I think like 5 p.m. in where we are is 7 in the morning, depending on the time of year. Like, it doesn't line up. It really doesn't. Exactly. It took me a while because I was so involved in the team here, and it was like that, and then I wasn't involved at all. And you probably felt very similar in a different way.
Well, like it was full on. Like suddenly had to like manage everything. Thanks for that, Nate. But one of the interesting things for me, which is really interesting, when you look at the starter local insights, like whenever any small business starts from scratch, like it sometimes gets forgotten, like what actually goes in to make it work. And I just remember, like, for the first maybe 6 months, maybe longer, you tell me, but it was just you.
Yeah.
And actually, like, you were doing everything. You were out you were literally walking the streets, walking into businesses to get us up and running, to get us revenue brought in. But you're also managing the accounts as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does that work? Like, how do you do it all on your own?
It was an interesting one. Well, first of all, my biggest, I guess, the biggest hurdle for me was that getting those first few clients. Getting some runs on the board, getting some revenue,
because you'd never really done.
We didn't even know for sure whether Aussie businesses were going to even like.
One, whether they'd even like it, but just the general approach, like walking into businesses and selling. Me and Ben would always give you jibes on like, you got to get out there. It's all good.
For those that don't know, I spent a lot of time in the office tonight.
Yeah. But literally, like, you did it.
Yeah,
you did it, and you smashed it.
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a. I felt personally it was like a good it was a challenge, and I needed to do it, and it was great. And we got there was some interesting experiences early on, but I felt that was you quickly learn the differences by doing that, because you're hands on, right? So even down to the language that we were using, and in our kind of sales.
Yeah. So what were some of the main differences when you were going into businesses?
Even the word, let's say take our Google Listing Optimizer service, which is our main. Even the words Google Listing, that it wasn't resonating when I was walking in. So I had to change the word and incorporate.
What's the lingo then? What's the Google
I started
lingo?
using Google, but just adding the word Google Business,
okay,
business before it, and then all of a
made
sudden
a big difference.
Yeah. And then just where your reviews and your opening hours are, just like getting yes. Even that, which wasn't strictly part of our intro here.
And it's not an easy gig walking into businesses, right?
No,
it's pretty tough.
No,
So what's the magic sauce?
Magic sauce. Well, from what I've learned, it's all about it's confidence, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And just be yourself, be natural. Just walk in
Mm.
and treat it just like a casual conversation.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is probably one of the things I learned. Right, I was robotic and scripted at the beginning, and it was like that's people see that coming. It's like, oh, here we go. Like if you're just natural, be yourself. Like treat it as an individual conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's key. What do you reckon?
Wow, it's a good question because I'm like, when I used to go in, so interesting point, right? Benji, myself, and Nathan, but at the beginning of Local Insights, when we first launched, it was like 2017, Benji and I would be going into the field. When we say the field, we mean like we're going into high streets, we're walking into businesses, and we're pretty much going, hey, it's Dan from Local Insights, we're your local Google agency, we're here to upgrade all the listings. And I'm like, the most important part for me of making sure I got into those conversations was just being super like natural but positive and really just like friendly and
Energy bounces, right?
Mirror.
Mirror. That's it. That's
yeah.
the
I do reckon you hear it a lot and it sounds a bit cheesy and cliche, but actually if I ever have someone who is selling out there on the high street and they say, oh, I'm getting some real negative vibes when I'm walking into businesses, your first port of call is like, actually, you don't want to be looking at like the clients that are being neggy with you. You want to look at how you're portraying yourself. Because I used to find when I was buzzing and happy and confident, they were buzzing.
It's hard to overcome that. If someone's coming in and they've got that energy, they're super positive, they're nice, they're friendly. I mean, it takes a certain person to kind of go, hey, like
yeah. No,
they're going to bounce off you.
Well, I think that's really key, and I think that's in life as well. Like however you portray yourself is how people will respond to you. If you're positive, they're positive. If you're negative, they're negative. Like pretty straightforward. Just be positive.
Yeah.
And you surround yourself with positivity. Magic.
That's the secret sauce.
Yes.
Back to the kind of point is that getting that initial revenue, that first 6 months, proving concept, going, okay, we got something here.
Burning cash as well. Not easy to do, right? Like you're literally just burning cash.
Yeah.
Like whilst we're setting up and whilst we're getting going.
It's nerve wracking, and we were lucky enough to know that if we can, our business is built in a certain way. If we can just get through that period, then we'll be right. But when it's happening in real time,
yeah, tough. So getting to that moment where we kind of broke even, would you say that's one of your biggest? Like, was that a big milestone for you when it was like, yes?
Yeah, but it was like I reckon one of two things. I think the breaking even was always a big one. It's a big. It's a stress relief. It's kind of going, especially, you and Benji put so much faith in what I can do, what we do as a team.
Misplaced,
yeah, big time. No, but that kind of faith to kind of we're going somewhere now.
Yeah.
But then I'd say my other highlight would definitely be that first. The first team member.
Yeah, okay, tell me more.
First team member coming in is always about. Well, we got to a point where we had enough clients where I'd brought in enough clients where we could go. Okay, we need someone to look after these clients. I can't do both.
Well, that's a big moment, right? So in the UK, that was Pat Lynch.
That's right.
Yeah. Who's now head of our creative department.
Yes, that's coming up to 7. Must be coming up to 7 years. Yeah.
Six-year anniversary just done.
Office just over there.
Yeah.
We were in a small little.
No, we've expanded.
Yeah. So bringing in that first account manager to kind of go, okay, you've got a portfolio of clients now, you can look after them. It allowed me to bring in more, just focus on that side of the business. And then again, that next milestone was that third member, which was a member of the sales team. It was another significant. We've got a team forming.
Yeah, which is pretty immense actually. And then so in terms of the services we offer out there, just for everybody to know, what are we for the Aussie folk that are listening in? What's the is it the same as the UK? Is it different? What's the kind of main things you do?
Yeah, well, we're a digital marketing company. That's the best way to describe us. And, we're very much like. Here in the UK, it's about what's going to get good results for a business, right? And every business is different, as you know. What works for one business isn't necessarily going to work for another. But we because of the types of businesses we work with, you know that the Google Listing Optimizer is always the number one, right? If you want people to come in and visit you, or you are visiting people on site, what do people do? They hop on and do a near me search, local search, right?
Online shop window.
Yeah. None of this. It's the same old story. None of this flicking through. What do we call it? The yellow pages back in the day. White pages.
I mean, what on earth is the yellow pages?
It's none of that stuff anymore, right? And so at the end of the day, you want to be forefront when someone types in that search that's relevant to your business. You need to be forefront. You need to be up there. You need to be visible. You need to be standing out from the crowd. All the stuff we usually say. That's our bread and butter. And of course, we also do social media. We manage social media for our clients. Google Ads, website SEO, incredibly important. All of these pieces are of a puzzle. Are incredibly important for a business. So.
And you're supporting a lot of businesses. So, like, where are we up to now? Like, there's quite a lot of people subscribing to Local Insights Australia, right?
I'm proud to say we're just coming up to around 450 clients that we will work with.
And that's like, just to clarify, that's 450 businesses that Local Insights is supporting with their digital online presence.
Fantastic, right?
And it's not just like they're paying a one-off. They're like with us, been with us, and we're on a journey with them.
We're on a journey. They trust us. They trust us to deliver, and we deliver.
Yeah.
And it's quite, when you sit back sometimes and you talk numbers like that, it's mega, isn't it? Yeah.
And you never know what you're walking into, do you? When you're going into these businesses, it could be like you could be walking into what looks like an independent business. It's got its own thing, but then you just don't know. Maybe it's a business that has like multiple locations, or
it's an interesting story. So when I had a guy, and it's you always kind of for those that don't know, when we've got our sales team, we walk into business because people love having a conversation, and we can present what we do very easily on an iPad. So one of the training points is like, don't judge a book by its cover. Always walk into a business, right? Because you never know, right?
Literally never know.
And I had a he was doing the same thing. He was actually on the way home because in Australia, one other thing that's a little different is businesses are quite sprawled out. You don't get the big, long, bulky high streets.
So no like high street?
No, you might get a pocket of, say, 10, 20 businesses, and then a kilometre down the road there's another. So it's a completely different kind of thing. So he was on his way home, right? This is a story. Tom was on his way home, and there's a business just like randomly by itself. And he thought, I'll pull over. I've got 15 minutes. I'll just pop in and
sweet.
See if I can chat to the owner. Yeah, above and beyond. What's what you're supposed to do. I walked in, and if he judged the book by its cover, you wouldn't think these guys would be into digital marketing. They've been there for 50 years, they got but nonetheless, he did the chatted, did the pitch, but sure enough, there was someone in line, right? There was someone in line who listened into his conversation, and afterwards he said, "Hey, here's my card. I've got 65 locations.
No way." That's amazing.
But if he hadn't done it, and then sure enough, we ended up, and they're a great long-standing client of ours. So the client was 65 locations, and sure enough, if he didn't do that, if he didn't create that opportunity, if he judged a book by its cover, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's mega. Well, fair play, Tom.
Yeah,
nailed it.
Absolutely.
What's some of the like? I can imagine there's some like intricate like little differences in terms of like there's certain things that we do in the UK. Like in terms of our strategy and our process that obviously work really well. We've kind of nailed it, right? It's going good. But is it exactly the same? Is it like a kind of cookie cutter kind of thing where you can just put it in the Australian market and it works? Or did you have to change anything? Do all the tactics, are they the same, or are they...
Are you talking like on delivery, like our
delivery
service?
Of our strategies with like Google, Google Places, Google Business?
Well, it's pretty much the same as what we do here, because it's a global thing. Like Google's global. What's their market share? Something 90% or something like that. And for the most part, the platform is identical.
Cool.
So a lot of our tactics and stuff are pretty similar. But of course, the audience is different.
Yeah, tell us about the audience.
Well, they're Aussies, right? So like over here you got Brits, and here in Aussie you got Aussies. So
More receptive, less receptive, friendlier?
You talk about business owners?
Yeah.
I would say they're probably more open, ever so slightly they're pretty more open to digital marketing going, okay, I need to do something to help my business. And especially when when you know that it's more competitive and things are spread out, geographically spread out. Well, you need
super important.
Super important. But I think it's super important in any country, any small business needs to be doing it.
You could argue even more, right? Because in a high street where you've got footfall walking by you every day,
at least you've got the footfall.
But if you're on like some random street and that's just the way things are,
how are people going to find you otherwise?
It's like super critical, isn't it?
So and then the other thing I'd say is just like from an operational perspective is tone of voice on content. Like I think the way you talk to.
Is it more formal, less formal?
It always depends on the business, but I think overall, I think it's a little bit less formal.
Yeah, interesting.
The tone of voice and language used is a bit more casual. As generally speaking.
And what's it like being a Kiwi working in Oz?
It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, they're the enemy, right?
A lot of sheep jokes.
Yeah, I bet.
No. Aussies and Kiwis are like cousins, and it's like big brother, little brother.
Yeah.
New Zealanders tend to have a bigger thing with their Aussie counterparts, and Aussies just come on, mate. No, it's great. Well, it's a great place to live. Place to live. I love it. Kids love it.
And now you're at a place where you've you're settled with the kids, the family, and obviously the businesses. You're up to 450 businesses that we're supporting, which is pretty epic. We've got a team out there as well, which is also super awesome.
Shout out to the team.
Yeah. Shout out to the team. Absolutely.
Oh, we even got, obviously but for those that don't know, we actually have a Local Insights UK team member
how cool
working
is that?
in Australia. Yeah, it's really cool.
Sammy Barker.
That's right. Sammy actually left here and left the company to go travelling, which is like awesome. Go for a few months, and then sure enough, eventually landed on the Australian shores. And as soon as I found that out, it's like, Sammy, you got to
get her back. That worked out really well. And Sammy's a legend. She's brilliant. And it's great that you've got such a good team around you. But what's the plan for the future? Where do you see it? What's going to be the next couple of years?
Well, we've barely touched the sides in Australia. And to be honest, if you know Australia's geography, we're pretty much in one state. Like we've operated in
which is Brisbane.
Brisbane's a city, Queensland's a state,
okay,
right?
Cool.
So you've got there's Sydney, Melbourne, these other cities and states that we've got a huge amount of businesses.
So if anybody that's listening is interested in expanding the Australian business in states that we're not currently operating, they should get in touch, right?
Absolutely. Give it. Yeah, we're and I would say that Sydney's
so
probably
that's the plan. So we're going to go region by region.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sounds good. Well, it's pretty impressive, the whole journey from literally walking into a business to get someone signed up to managing a business that has 450 subscribers and are all doing various things, right? Google listings, social media, website SEO. So kudos to you, Nathan. Very well done. What's one of the biggest challenges or lessons if you're starting out doing this whole setting up a business? I mean, you make it sound easy, but I'm sure there were challenges on the way.
Setting up a business. I mean, even if you go back to when we first started here in 2017, either way, everything just takes. You got to have patience, and you got to realize that things take a little bit longer than you expect. And you have a plan, back your plan, and then follow through and keep going.
Yeah.
Don't if things things will come. You'll get hit by something that's damn. I wish that didn't happen, or it will get in front of you, but you got to keep going.
Yeah. That reminds me of I think it was in 2018 in our journey when we had a plan and we were on the plan, but then actually we did pivot and we did we saw a better opportunity and we went with it. So I guess you can change a plan right along the way, and sometimes actually maybe you need to change the plan.
And we did at the time, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, we needed to do that, and we wouldn't be here without having made those. I think we've made pretty good calls along the way so far.
Yeah.
When we've seen opportunities, we've got, okay, we're gonna. But there's been plenty of opportunities we've gone for it, and it's like, hey, it didn't work out. Well, that's fine. At least we gave it a go.
Just crack
But
on.
like that 2018 moment was big. We go, okay, we're changing tact here.
Game changer moment that was.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it would be like, it was quite like literally I would go around with Nathan, and I would try and sign people up to a virtual tour that sits on their Google listing, which is, by the way, a brilliant way to showcase your business online. You can literally go onto Google Maps and walk through a business. It's super awesome. And then I would get someone signed up, and Nathan would literally come in and photograph it in the next breath.
All the year.
It was brilliant, and Benji would be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's crazy actually where we started and where we are now, which is pretty cool. So no, sounds good. And then you're obviously in the UK for a little bit, which is cool.
And we've got summer party coming up.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
A few more days in the office.
Yeah.
Excited to catch up with people.
That'll be good. That'll be good. And is there anything in particular that you want to find out or learn, or like what are the main goals, other than of course to have an absolutely belter of a celebration for Benji's wedding?
Well, yeah, Benji's wedding was so good, wasn't it? My biggest thing was there was I'd say at least half. I don't know the exact numbers. At least half of the team, I didn't know. Like I had spoken to online or whatnot, but. You know, when it's your business, you kind of want to know. You know, you want to know everyone.
100%.
And so my biggest goal was to kind of make sure I could come in and face to face and catch up. So I've got a fair few meetings lined up, and
Nice.
a summer party will be a good opportunity for that. So that was a big one for me. And then not to mention, like, you know, you guys here have made some big strides in how we do things.
Yeah. So from what you've seen so far, what are some of the big strides that you've noticed?
I think everything, you know, like that it's all led by you here, really, Brisky. It's like everything we do,
And the team,
of course. But you know, what everything we do is designed for, like, it's about excellent customer experience. So, and that comes, it's what we do and how we do it, and the improvements that, especially over the last 18 months maybe, the improvements that have been made and how we deliver great customer experience. It's like, okay, I want to take as much of that in so we can start moving. Well, not that we don't deliver great customer experience in Australia, but it can always be better, right? So
it can always be better.
Yeah.
Like we've spent literally untold hours looking at how we can perfect every little bit of the journey so we can make sure our customers are super happy with the experience. So yeah, I'm glad you like what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. Good. All good.
I've got a question for you. So what you know, if we're talking, you know, expansion of business and, you know, all of that, you know, what did you love about the idea of going into another country?
Yeah, so for me it was like we had previously worked in a few, well, me personally and collectively worked in businesses where we had a global presence. And it was pretty wild to see some of the successes that had been achieved along the way, some of which we created ourselves, you and I and Benj, some of which I'd done individually. And it was always a dream for me to set up my own business, and it's brilliant that I've done it with you and Benj. And in terms of like one of the dreams for me, I think I mentioned earlier, is like one, if we could just set up a business that we could enjoy, we could love, and do what we're passionate about, which is actually supporting local businesses and making sure that they have the very best online presence. I'm like, that's pretty sweet. But then if you go beyond that, I'm like, holy like cow, in terms of if we could actually do that in multiple countries, that right there is really exciting. And then in terms of like where I see it going, I've always been super passionate because I set up a business in America, and it was a success, and I sold my share of it, which was really cool. But I've always had a real passion, not necessarily to go back there, live there, but I'm like, we're in Australia, we're in the UK. I think the American market could be mega for us. So I'm really excited where we're at. and I think brilliant. It was always a dream for me to do it, so I'm super stoked that we've done it. But I'm like, America's got to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
And I think that could be really big for us, because I think if we can dominate Oz and then you start to move into New Zealand, we get into America and we start to like, you know, work the States. I think that could be pretty epic for Local Insights.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. This has been a very good experience, hasn't it?
Good. It's been good.
I've never done one of these. You're a pro now.
I'm not sure actually. It's interesting not having Benji around. Like Benji is the life and soul, and I just want to bring it back actually to Benji, because this is a nice pod. It's a real shame Benji's not here, but it's a brilliant thing that like you're back, and I know a week on Saturday we're gonna be hanging out, going out for a nice little steak dinner in London. But yeah, it's just really cool, and it's nice that Benji has lived one of his lifetime goals, and that's getting married with Samantha. Got 2 amazing kids, amazing family, amazing business. So I'm going to wrap it up and be like, Benji, we love you. We hope you're enjoying your honeymoon, and yeah, we've done some really cool things, the 3 of us together, and we couldn't have done it with the help of all of our team members as well. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's been good. Thanks
stuff.
for joining the pod, man.
Nice
Nice one. Great.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys.